Hello everybody, good day and welcome to yet another Avonic webinar, and today a special one because we're in the middle of our AV show here at Avonic, an alternative to ISE, and of course not a face-to-face meeting or a real life meeting, but online meetings that we're doing, but we're also hosting some webinars, and this is the first of a sequence of 3 webinars during the AV show. Today we're going to be talking about streaming applications. Overnight, the whole world seems to be streaming, which is of course good for people that sell internet connectivity, but of course streaming solutions have been out there for a long time. There's a lot of new customers that are now adapting streaming solutions, so there's no better time to talk about streaming solutions with some topic experts who are joining us today. And I want to introduce you to our panel that's going to be joining us today. First of all, Noortje Rasmussen at Roland Pro AV. Noortje, good day and thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.
You're calling in from Denmark. Where in Denmark are you?
North of Copenhagen.
North of Copenhagen.
Capital.
Okay. And for the ones that don't know you, could you say something about your role within Roland Pro AV?
Yeah, I am the European product manager. As well as being actually sales manager for Scandinavian and East European region as well. Okay. So I have 2 roles, but main role is product manager for Europe.
Okay, well, it's great to have you on today as certainly a topic expert for the streaming part, as Roland is very active in that space, of course. Also, warm welcome to Siep Kiers at SmashAV. Siep, also great that you're joining today.
Thank you.
Could you say something about SmashAV for the ones that don't know your company? What's kind of the core activities inside of SmashAV?
Well, I'll keep it brief then. We're existing 20 years and we do a lot of rental productions when there's no virus, and a lot of installations in government buildings, churches, that kind of thing. So we're an integrator as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure 2020 has been a interesting or challenging year for you as well. But we'll hear more about that. Yeah, we'll hear more about that for sure. And then last but not least, making her webinar debut today is Noortje from Merode, my colleague. Noortje, welcome.
Hi, thank you very much.
Great that you're joining. You're working from home. I'm standing in the studio. All 3 of you are working from home at the moment. Where are you calling in from, Noortje?
I'm now in Breda, and that's in the south of Netherlands.
The south of the Netherlands. Okay. Well,
Yes.
Noortje, you will be hosting the panel discussion, which is going to be a core component of this webinar today. So we'll be talking to you and also to you, Morten and Siep, later on. So the webinar today about streaming solutions. We're going to start in a little bit, just a little bit about the webinar itself. If you haven't used or haven't attended any of our webinars, we're using the Demio platform, very simple online platform. And on the right side of your screen, you're seeing a chat window. Please put any questions in there. There's representatives from all 3 companies in the chat window to answer your questions. So please feel free to put those in the chat window. Before we get started, for the ones that are completely new to our webinars, maybe don't even know exactly what Avonic actually does, we are a manufacturer of PTZ cameras. Our company has been founded about 13 years ago. Our background is in AV distribution, so we know the market well, and we're in charge of product design, manufacturing, warehousing, sales, and support, and we do that from our HQ in the Netherlands. We have an absolute focus on Pro AV installations, so we're really focusing on installations where the camera needs to be close to invisible or need to be able to blend into the environment. And currently we have distribution in about 30 countries on every continent worldwide. Before we get started about streaming applications, I wanted to kind of highlight a few which are typical, of course, webinar type studios that are similar to the one that I am in right now. Of course, streaming is a large part of that, cameras are a large part of that, and the key is always to build a system that works well, produces a good quality picture, and actually is affordable for the customer. Of course, we also have got more broadcast type applications later on in one of our future webinars that we're going to be doing soon. And we're also going to be talking about esports. Esports is more a broadcast type application, but also streaming and broadcasting are getting closer together. Of course, streaming is a big part in education as well, especially now where people are doing this with video conference systems as well, but also with live streaming protocols such as YouTube in certain countries. And of course, streaming is also a big part in government projects where you have delegate systems, conference systems, and for openness of democracy, the actual meeting is broadcasted out into the world. So there's a lot of streaming applications. One that is very much in demand right now is also in houses of worship, churches, mosques. There's not a lot of people actually accepted or allowed to be inside of the house of worship right now. So the way to keep communicating with the people is of course to look into streaming solutions. So this is just a couple of examples of streaming solutions that we see quite often here at Avonic. Then just looking at the products, of course we've got a big line of products that are applicable or can be used for streaming applications. For the sake of time, I'm just pulling out two which I wanted to highlight. Our CM70 line of cameras, full-size PTZ camera, available in 20, 12 and 30 times zoom, all in the same design, actually also for the same price. 3G SDI, HDMI and IP outputs make it very, very flexible, so you can actually connect multiple devices. If you happen to have a monitor that doesn't have SDI, you can just connect HDMI. If you happen to have a mixer that doesn't have HDMI, you can just go 3G SDI, so very flexible in a way. The cameras are powered over PoE, so there's no injectors needed. It's standard PoE, so off the shelf, relatively low cost switches can already power the camera. And in the CM70 line, we've really focused on low light performance. So most of our applications, if you think houses of worship, city council rooms, even meeting rooms, the lighting is not as in a studio setup. There's less lighting as what I have here in the studio, so low light performance has to be taken into consideration. Of course, we've got multiple control interfaces, so serial, UVC or IP control, and 3 years of warranty. And then, of course, in our portfolio, there is a gap where we don't have a video mixing solution. That's also the reason why Roland is, of course, one of our technology partners. A lot of customers that we have and that Roland has are actual mutual customers, so we have systems where both brands are represented. The other side, if you have the program output, of course you need to stream that out to the world. In our portfolio we have the REC200, which is a simple, small size, low form factor, an affordable live encoder, single channel H.264, H.265, and also has HDMI and 3G SDI inputs, which is very flexible. A lot of competing products would only have HDMI, but in our case, if your mixer has an SDI output, you can still connect that to the REC200. It does UDP, RTSP, RTMP, and HLS streaming, has a web interface, and IP control possibility. So from a Crestron or AMX system or Neat system, you can control the device as well. And it is compatible with most of the major streaming services. Again, these are just a couple of products in our portfolio. Certainly not everything, but it kind of gives you a little bit of an idea about what kind of solutions we offer to the market. Just to look at kind of a typical streaming setup, right? You've got your cameras, could either be fixed cameras or PTZ cameras. If it's a PTZ camera, you need control, so you'll end up having to need, for instance, the AV-CON300 IP, which is our IP-based controller. You'll probably have some external inputs, which could be a laptop or any other devices that produce a video signal. You'll probably have some microphones, because otherwise it's just going to be very silent. And in this setup, which is pretty traditional, you'll have three elements that you need to basically create the glue in this streaming application. So you need a PTZ controller, you need a video mixer, and you need an audio mixer. And from those devices, you connect everything up to the REC200, for instance, or your encoder, and basically stream that to Facebook or YouTube Live or any other platform, or Twitch or whatever. This is also the reason why there's a good combination, or a great combination, between Roland and Avonic. Especially the audio and video is something that can be fully integrated in the audio mixer, and even for a part the PTZ control. But we'll figure out more about that during our panel discussion. So I'm happy to hand it over to Noortje, because you will be leading the panel discussion. So I'll hand it over to you for now.
Thank you very much. Hi guys. I have a lot of questions for you, so I will start it with this. The world has changed a lot because of the current situation. Streaming technology has matured almost overnight and is now being used for even the biggest events worldwide. Morten, what has that meant for you in the past year?
Well, it's been, it's meant that we had to change the focus that we have. It's no secret that the main category of customers and types of products that we're producing was at the beginning, sorry, at the beginning of 2020, it was targeted at live events and live performance. Luckily, we actually at that time also had streaming output products. So the change, of course, meant that we had to change our focus, because else we would have seen serious challenges. And the decrease in the live market actually were, luckily for us, held up by the increase of the streaming products. So we have some very strong integrated streaming products that integrates audio and video especially, and that has been our main focus. And we also managed to actually, from a production side of view, change the focus. So some of the products that were actually planned for the future, that roadmap was also changed. So this has been a year of change, you could say.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And Siep, how has been the past year for you?
Well, with us, video really exploded. We came from a situation that we had video demands once in a while. And after the corona, COVID virus, from the start, the only demand we was left was for video. So we invested in a lot of cameras for live production, streaming solutions. And nowadays we install cameras all the time for especially houses of worship and that kind of propagations. So the only thing we do now actually is video, for instance. Yeah.
A big difference. But so much more production projects that are broadcasted online. Of course, this will continue during the current restrictions. But do you also expect streaming to become a part of more events in the future? For example, hybrid. What do you think, Siep?
We feel that video will never leave the building again, and the events also, because the demand to be live in person is not as high as it was in past years, in 20 years ago, while there were no proper video connections. But nowadays, you can integrate video inward and outward from your events. So we think it will never leave again.
All right. Talked about the next year then. Roland, from Morten, what is the future direction and roadmap for Roland video products, do you see for you?
It's definitely more streaming products. It's actually also some of the products that we had in pipeline were actually before being released in 2021 changed to actually be integrated with streaming. So streaming is the major part of the change, that almost all our product releases from now on will have some connection with streaming application and will be able to be included in streaming. So that's definitely a big change in where our focus is for the future. And I think, as Siep says, it's going to change the way that we are performing or having live events has been changed. I think it'll take a long time to recover and for people to get confident in going to bigger live events, being thousands of people very close together, even when we have the vaccines and everything from the COVID. I think the situation will influence the coming years, not only 2021.
No, I think you are very right in this. Siep, what Morten just mentioned, is it in line with your requirements you have?
Yeah, it sure is. Like the sheet Steven showed, that you need all the separate mixers for video and audio and a controller as well. That's preferably our setup in a live situation, but there is a lot of customers with less budget or lack of personnel for usage, and the products that are simple to integrate and do not have a very difficult interface. I think that market is the grow market for 21 and coming years. Also, not to forget the artists on this moment, because all bands which would like to perform on a large stage need somehow to fulfill their needs to perform. I know some artists which already are very keen on having live streams and sell live streams as well. So I think that market should be taken care of as well. So I think the demand will only gain in the future.
Okay. I think you are very right in this, because when we see and we look at our business, you see right now the AV show. I think that's a big difference from last year from the ISE. So I think it will continue this way. Let's talk about the integration of the Avonic and Roland products. Siep, you work with Roland products. How is your experience with that?
We work with Roland products as well, indeed. Our focus is to make a solution for our customer, for the demand, and Roland is a part of that as well. We do a lot of brands actually, but when we're talking about Roland products, we like the reliability, the ease of integration, and the quality. And I have to knock on wood. I think we never had a failure on a Roland product, so that's what we like most.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Is it also the reason you chose Avonic as a supplier of PTZ cameras?
Yeah, actually it is. We also like Avonic that it's a Dutch company with Dutch design and also Dutch service. So that makes it for us a lot easier to deal with questions and eventually problems, or let's say challenges we meet in the field. So it's also the product support that we like best from Avonic. Yeah.
And an account manager, or... No, it's just kidding.
We discuss that later.
Hey, Siep, how is the combination of Roland and Avonic working for you?
Well, that's actually fine. It integrates very smooth. Both brands have the quality we expect. So, yeah, we'd like to continue with that for many years after this. Yeah, absolutely.
No, we are glad to hear that. Morten, as an account manager working on the Dutch market, I often get questions about Roland products, and I have a few that seem to come back regularly. Of course, I want to take the opportunity to ask you, is it possible to control more than one PTZ camera from a Roland video mixer?
Yes, it is actually. I think that's, I don't know exactly this detail about every product, but I can say that one of the strengths of our product are that you can actually control multiple brands and multiple PTZ cameras at the same time from the same unit. So usually 6 different PTZ cameras. You can control that from one single unit, even if it's different brands. So you can combine a set of whatever you have from earlier on, older cameras, new cameras, in our products.
Okay. And which Roland switcher supports PTZ camera control over IP?
We have a few. Mostly it's, of course, our AV mixer that includes audio control as well, the VR50 Mark II. But we also have a a smaller model, the V60 HD, and a rack version of the V60, which is called XS62. So we have a different or some different mixers that covers different applications. Our top of the line model, the V600 UHD, which is a 4K video switcher, combines multiple formats in the same switcher and converting different types of UHD and 4K DCI signals, as well as full HD signals coming in to different outputs as well. This switcher can do camera control as well, PTZ camera control.
Okay, thank you very much for your question, for your answer. Morten, is it also possible to combine the software control in the switches with a hardware controller?
Indeed, yeah. If you have a switch in between, you would be able to control our switchers from different sources at the same time. So you can combine a software with a hardware. Even if it's possible, you could have more hardware controllers and a software controller at the same time. So yeah, that the flexibility of the remote control input can be combined both with LAN control, multiple hardware and software, and for instance RS-232 at the same time. Maybe also with some GPI controllers as well, with some physical switches. So we have all our products actually have an open possibility to combine any remote control source.
Okay. Siep, in which situations would you use software-based control on your projects?
Usually we go to software control, where the first reason, of course, will be the budget. The hardware controller for PTZ is a costing device, so you can also have a camera for that price. So many times customers have to choose if they like an extra camera or the hardware controller. Well, in that instance, we use software control better because we like cameras more than controllers. But speaking to that, I'm wondering, Morten, if you can have the Roland video mixer as well with a hardware controller and combine that, or do you have experience with that? Because that might add some solutions.
Yeah, and it's definitely in the situations where the users are more used to have the tactile remote. That's very appealing, of course, for the customer in that case. So it's definitely about what type of operator we are faced with. Some of the more, you could say, non-experienced setups, they might be choosing the software solution because they don't have any preference in having a tactile hardware controller. But I would say that if you have tried to use a tactile hardware-based controller, I think you would prefer that because it gives you a very firm sense of controlling the camera. But having said that, it's also a question of the application. If you need to make the camera follow an object or a person on stage, that relies more to hybrid events or more live-based applications, as opposed to more fixed, maybe studio-based or fixed setups. Then I think software would be just fine because you can switch from presets and you can prepare a set of presets and just switch between those, and you can trigger that directly from our hardware video switchers as well as the remote for the hardware. So you don't. Well, you can do it in many different ways, and I think actually this is an important part that we stress a lot to our customers, that actually you can combine and make different setups around the same product.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's what I really liked to know. But I think we agree on the hardware controller be, let's say, first place and software control second best. But for the customers with less experience, then the software control is great. Yeah. Thanks for your answer. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Siep, like many of my customers, you are suddenly forced to adapt a new reality in which streaming is the most important way of communicating and continuing large events. I think it's good to zoom in on some key consideration for any streaming setup. So when using a camera, we all know that lighting has an effect on the picture quality, but how do you deal with that?
Well, when we look at live production, we start from another view. Because in earlier years, let's say 2020, like last year, we always looked from the spectator side. So the audience, they have to have the great picture. But nowadays, we're thinking from the camera. So this camera needs this and that. So what do we offer in live production to have the result we like most and to stay in business also? So it appears that in live production, we take 3 times the amount of light with us for especially make multiple setups to have an equal lighting about the set. Which of course is a little bit challenging in an installation project because you integrate cameras in a situation that's already there. Almost 90% of the times in a building that already exists. So the light is also already there. In that case, we can only advise to take a good look at the solution there already is. And sometimes we advise to add some fixtures to have, let's say that. But we also can look at the placement of the cameras to deal with the best amount of light possible. So light is indeed after the cameras the most demanding setup for both live and installation products.
All right. And do you have any advice about how to set up a reliable stream?
Well, at first I'd say use good products, but there are some limitations.
Avonic and Roland.
That would not be my first choice. Oh wow! Of course it is.
I think you do.
But, yeah, we do a lot of that. But there are some limitations about the data rate, the streaming bit rate. So in a live situation or on a new installation, we always check the amount of data coming into the building, which you can use for an upload. And we mostly stay below 40% of that availability. So let's say you have 10 megabit upload capacity, then we keep the stream at about 4 megabit because we don't like the buffering scene as well on receiving and transmitting side. So the internet connection is important. And what we see from the houses of worship, that the platform itself is really important, because when you reproduce some music from a CD or another video, and you stream that, for example, to YouTube or Facebook, you end up with a bit of black screen because of the author rights, and say. So the platform should be chosen as well, as in a good way. Yeah.
Okay. Gordon, how does the USB 3.0 output on your video mixers fit in with what Siep just mentioned?
Well, it's USB 3 that we chose to have on our products as a streaming output. Is a little bit more simple setup because you actually put the encoding process to the computer, and you can add any application as your streaming endpoint application. So you can both integrate with conference systems and software-based solutions and take that output directly into the computer. So this is a sort of a different approach, but for us, it secures the signal quality because through USB 3, we are transmitting uncompressed video and uncompressed audio. So it's up to the application, first of all, the encoding process, and how much you choose to compress the signal in that streaming application that you are actually in. And as Siep says, you choose to have a certain buffer above, so you have headroom in your transmission. And of course, in this case, when we are using USB, this is all up to the computer to decide.
Thank you both for the great advice, because I think the attendees will have lots of this. More than, is it possible to connect more than one USB streaming device to the same computer?
It is. So you can actually, if you have an application that actually lets you switch between different USB devices or camera devices in the application, you can easily connect more than one USB streaming device and combine even switchers that we have in our lineup without streaming output, because we have a small, as well as the one that Avonic is providing, we have a direct HDMI input with audio embedding to USB 3 streaming. So you can combine, for instance, this unit with any other source or any video switcher, like the smallest one we have, the VO2 HD or V1 HD, V1 HD Plus, some of the smaller switchers, and combine that with, for instance, VR1 streaming switcher or VR50 Mark II. So the combination lets you open up more combinations in the way that you're working. But the thing that you have to remember, if you do that, it stresses the computer. So it takes power for the computer to handle that uncompressed video input from two sources at the same time. So if you have a very old computer, I will not recommend to do that. But if you have a new computer, a strong, ideally a desktop computer of some kind, you can definitely do that. And actually, also one thing I like to mention is that whenever the signal is in the computer from the USB source, you can, in a strong computer again, you can actually use the signal on multiple applications at the same time. So if you have a streaming application and you have another recording application, you can run those applications at the same time, taking the signal from the same source at the same time. So that's another flexibility that you can choose. Depending on the strength on your computer, you can run multiple instances of the same signal.
Okay. Siep, overall Roland seems to be focused on offering an all-in-one solution with video and audio signals and camera control in its products. What is the advantage of this approach?
Well, I think it's very cost effective. So when you look at the demand for simple installations, we end up with the customers with not so much knowledge, and then the all-in-one solution will be great because it's just one button press to have a transmission going, and when it's always in the same place, then you don't need to adjust anymore, have some new connections made. So this all-in-one solution will be a great advantage for the install market as well. So I think that's a great idea. A lot of companies are creating some kind of devices like that right now. A lot of Chinese as well. But well, when it's from Roland, I think it's worth it to take a look at. Yeah.
Morten, do you agree?
Of course, it's worth taking a look at on the Roland products, of course. And on that note, we are focusing a lot in the integration of audio, making sure that this part, of course, obviously we have a lot of history, we have a lot of expertise that we can take from the past, from our audio consoles, and also from our MI products. And we can bring this technology in as we need it, and I think that's a great advantage we have. So we focus a lot on integrating audio and making sure that the synchronization between the video signal and the audio, and also adding the tools that you would normally need for in a production setup, and try to make this, as Siep says, make it easy to operate, because of course from a technical point of view you can add lots of features, you can have a very complex system, but if you don't consider the user interface, if you don't consider how the user actually approaches this, I think you will just end up with a very complicated system and a non-appealing system, because it doesn't really I mean, the operators have no chance to operate the system so we are the most difficult thing when we are developing products is actually to decide which process or which function is the most important in that application that we are aiming at, so that we filter out a lot of functions. We can't have devices with buttons for every function that you, some would like that, but first of all, the units will be huge and they will be expensive, and we will lose a lot of the entry-level customers, which is, of course, from a number point of view and customer point of view, these are the most interesting from a market point, because there are most of that kind of users. And as you are also focusing on house of worship applications, education, conference applications, we know that it's not necessarily experts that operates the equipment, so it needs to be easy to use. First of all, that's the main thing.
The main word is easy.
Yes.
Thank you. I think we shared a lot of information with everyone present. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your participation in this webinar. I'm sure that our attendees will have some more questions for you. Please put them in the chat window. I will pass any of those questions for Morten or Siep personally, and we will answer them in the following webinar. So thank you very much, and back to you, Steven.
Thank you, Noortje. I think that was an interesting panel discussion, and good to hear from both a manufacturer of solutions for streaming and to hear from somebody actually using those streaming solutions in the field. I think that was very valuable. One thing I wanted to emphasize, which wasn't mentioned, the technology partnerships for us at Avonic are very important. They are key to us. We spend a lot of time on those, and the reason why we do those is because not to only verify interoperability, but also to have a mutual support obligation, which means is that if Roland receives a support request where Avonic cameras, there might be something going on with the Avonic cameras, they will reach out to us and vice versa. So for you and the customer, this would be a very good thing to know that we've got you covered. So thank you again to the panelists of today, and like Noortje says, we will follow up the questions with a separate follow-up to Siep and Morten, and we will relay those, of course, back to you. What I do want to mention is that we have more to come here at Avonic. We're in the middle of the AV show 2021, and we have more webinars coming up, and I wanted to give you some highlights on those. On the 4th of February, we have the Future of Education together with integrator Kinley and the University of Wiener Neustadt in Austria. Of course, education was also very much influenced by the current situation. A lot of things going on for universities and education facilities worldwide, so definitely an interesting topic. We're going to learn more from the practical side and from the future side from both Kinley and the University of Wiener Neustadt. And then on the 9th of February, a little bit different topic, esports. Avonic has a close cooperation with Inside Esports, a company here in the Netherlands. Will actually be doing that webinar from their studio, which is on the north side of our small country, not a long drive, but it's on the north of the country. And we will be talking about esports and how that market is growing, and how PTZ cameras fit into those applications. So that's coming up with the AV show. And don't forget, if you want to make a personal appointment with one of our team members to learn more, we actually have a booth in our building, which we're doing not virtual tours, we're doing online tours through that booth, and you can see all our products and we can explain you more about what we're up to, discuss roadmaps and future things that we're planning. So please go to www.avshow.online, and on the site you'll see what you have to do. This was our webinar for today. I do want to thank you for joining. And I want to again thank SmashAV for their participation, and of course Roland Pro AV, and not to forget Avonic as well. And again, the website is www.avshowonline.online. So hopefully we'll see you soon at one of our other webinars. Thank you so much for joining, and see you soon.